So now we need to think about putting the vase on the table. So here, if I look, part of the vase seems to touch the table in the picture, but part of it is touching the wall. And we know when it touches like that, it covers up part of it. The word for that would be overlap. So I need to pick a color for my vase. And I'm going to be sort of drawing the shape of the vase. So I'm actually going to switch to a smaller brush so I get more control over what I'm doing. So this time, because I'm going to paint on top of other colors, I really got to make sure I load my brush with plenty of paint. So this time I'll be using more paint and less water. Now I want it to look like I could reach down and put my hands around the vase and pick it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with kind of a curved line. And this one, if you'll notice, is overlapping the wall, but I'm not putting it way up high because I need room for my flowers later. Then I'm going to do another curved line. So I'm going to curve down and I'll make sure this line goes from the wall onto the actual table. And then I'm going to do this side. And you notice I reloaded my paint, and my paint is dark enough. It's covering up the blue behind it. It's covering up the table behind it, the brown. Now I want it to look like the vase is actually there in front of me, like I can put my hands around it. So instead of just going straight across, I'm going to take my orange and I'm actually going to curve so it looks like it's more of a round shape. It's a round form that I can put my hand around. I can't really do that, but the lines are helping show that. Then I'm going to fill in the color of the vase. So I need just a little bit of water, but definitely more paint because it has to do the job of covering up the blue and the brown that are behind it. And if you'll notice as I fill it in, I'm not just sort of going back and forth with my brush. I'm actually using a curved brush stroke. So here I'm going to curve the other way because it's coming from the other side. So here I would curve this way, and on this side I'm curving this way. And eventually, the colors are going to come together and meet in the middle. So thinking about how to pull my paintbrush, what sort of a brush stroke that I want to use, that's something Vincent van Gogh did, so I definitely want to do that with mine. All right, so now my vase is there, and I can start thinking about the flowers actually coming up and out of the vase. So I'm cleaning out my brush, and I'm going to think about the stems of my flowers. I'm squeezing it out, so I don't want too much water in there because now those flower stems, they have to overlap another color as well. So I think I'm going to go with green for that. And I want to create the effect that the stems are coming up and out of the vase. Now, looking at sunflowers here, looking at his painting he did, I can see stems, but the flower blooms are actually overlapping it. So, gotta think, well, how are my stems gonna look? So obviously later, I won't see necessarily all of my stems when I paint my flowers on them. So I'm gonna have maybe one coming up this way. And if you'll notice, I started right at the edge of the vase and then I pulled up, and then maybe this one's a little shorter than that one. And then this one's gonna go up this way, so maybe that one's longer. And then maybe I've got one that crosses over this one. But something I notice when I'm looking at his sunflowers is sometimes I see the flower or the head of the flower, but I don't see the actual stem. And then I see some that are overhanging sort of in front. So I could have some that maybe there's not as much water in the vase. The flowers get a little thirsty, so they're kind of hanging out over the side there. So I think it might look interesting because I've got to visualize, well, later there would be flowers at the end of those stems. So where do I need to put stems to make it look more interesting visually? So I think for me, I have enough flower stems, so I'm going to then begin painting my flowers.